Hey makers, I'm Charlotte from the Wood and Wick Co. And today I'm here with Jeff Standley from Standley Handcrafted.
Thanks for having me.
If you don't know Jeff, he has a very popular Facebook group and YouTube platform where he helps to educate candle makers all about candle making and how to run a candle making business. Jeff, tell us a little bit about how you got started.
I started about 5 years ago. My daughter is a big fan of sugar scrubs, so we were out one time. She saw them and liked it a lot and wanted to make it. So once we got back home, we started to make sugar scrubs and just kind of progressed after that. After the sugar scrubs, somebody asked for candles because they didn't want to pay for them. And then once we made candles, it just kind of took off from there.
Beautiful. I love it. It all started with a sugar scrub.
Yeah.
So today, Jeff is going to share with us his top 10 tips on how to make a candle and start a candle making business. Jeff, what do you have for us?
There's a lot of different things you can do, but just jumping into it, if you're getting into candles for the very first time, there's a lot of good resources out there. Google is probably the number one. Just start Googling stuff and you're going to find hundreds, if not thousands of pages that will give you some basic information. Past that, I would say get into a group, a good Facebook group, which I know you guys have one as well.
Yeah, so Jeff and I both have a Facebook group. We highly suggest joining a group because you guys will get an amazing sense of community. You'll get instant help to a lot of questions that you may have and just have an awesome resource to connect with other candle makers.
Exactly.
So if you guys are looking to join a group, highly suggest DIY Candle Making Group on Facebook or Woodwick Candle Making.
Outside of the group, I would definitely go to video or YouTube next, obviously with my channel and you guys, your channel as well. There's a lot of good information on those and you can really kind of narrow down past like all the guesswork.
Yeah, tutorial videos are an awesome way to help you get started, to visually see how to make candles and just learn a lot of information in a short period of time. So Jeff's YouTube is Standley Handcrafted and we are the Wood and Wick Co on YouTube. So give us both a follow and you'll get a lot of awesome information.
Next on that one, I would say get a kit. A lot of people struggle with what to get, the waxes, the wicks, anything like that. Usually a good candle making kit is going to give you everything that you need to know, have everything kind of perfected for you within the box. So that's probably the number one for starting out.
I totally agree. A kit can be a great way to discover if you even like candle making and how you feel about it. Yeah. So a kit is a great way to start and it kind of segues into Jeff's next tip that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, the reason I suggest a kit is it keeps it real simple and that's the other thing I would say is if you do see some candles that you like, anything that I do jumping into photography, video, or even candles, I see something that I like and I try to mimic that just because you know that they have an end result. So you try to kind of match that, and once you get that down, like just a basic jar, a single wick, and then your fragrance oil, it's once you start doing it, you really get an idea of what to do and kind of how to branch off from that, and you start to see things that you want to do for the next one. So keeping it simple and mimicking something that you see.
Yeah, it gives you a building block to start off of. So instead of trying to jump into candle making and doing something really complicated, starting out simple, like Jeff said, with one candle, one wick, and just trying to take it from there is a really good place to start.
Almost a paint by numbers kind of approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one I would say was probably ratios, just making sure that if you do get something, the kits again have all the ratios measured out, of course, which I know you guys do as well.
Yep.
And anything like your guys' waxes, keeping it to the manufacturer's ratios is probably the biggest tip I can give you. A lot of people want to go overboard with the oils because they think the more oil, the stronger the candle. Keeping it to the ratios that you guys have or any manufacturer has, like the 1 ounce to 1 pound or something like that, is probably a big one.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. So candle making is just as much a science as it is an art. So you can't just go throwing a bunch of components together and expect them to perform properly. So as Jeff said, refer to manufacturer's guidelines for what percentage of fragrance oil to what percentage of candle wax, and then make sure to weigh out your wax and your fragrance so that you know you're using the appropriate ratios.
That's definitely a big one. The next one I would say is when you're placing wicks, Pen casing is a good thing for placing wicks, especially if you get some real tall, narrow containers. These are a little bit easier because you can actually get your hands in there. But using like a Bic ballpoint pen, I found that one really early on, and it helped quite a bit. And then, of course, wooden wicks are probably the easiest ones because you can actually grip the entire thing. You can place it, and they just center themselves. You don't even have to center them with the centering tools and all that. So pen casing and wood wicks are a great way to start too.
Yeah, I of course agree. Wooden wicks are a great way for beginners to just learn how to place the wick. The wicks are rigid, so they're not going to move around during your candle making process, which makes them a great entry level wick for anybody to start out with.
The next thing I would say is probably don't be afraid to hand your candles out. So once you make them, a lot of people, anything you're doing like art or creations or anything like that, people get real self-conscious. They don't want to hand stuff out. But with candles, once you start making them, you're going to realize that you get kind of scent dead once you start making them, and you don't have you kind of lose your sense of judging how good they are. So it's always a good idea to take your candles, hand them out to family, give them out to coworkers or whatever, and say, please test this for me, see what you think.
I could not agree more. So what Jeff is referring to is called olfactive fatigue, and it is a real thing. So when you are constantly around a certain fragrance, you may start to lose your sensitivity to the strength of that particular fragrance. So giving them to a friend, a family member, and getting feedback is an excellent way to help judge your candles.
Absolutely. And the other thing I would say, another tip is just to kind of have fun and experiment with them. Basically, just kind of try new things, try new waxes, try new oils, and just really go from there.
I mean, what are you doing if candle making isn't fun, right? It's definitely a real passion for a lot of people, both in the Facebook groups and on YouTube. And whether it's a business for you or a hobby or just something you're doing every now and then, it's definitely a really fun activity. So don't take yourself too seriously and make sure to keep it fun.
Another tip I was going to throw in here is get stuff that you like. If you want to color your candles, if you want like certain types of fragrance oils, get scents that you're going to like so that when you actually make a product, you're kind of happy with it.
Absolutely.
I see a lot of people in the group who will just get a scent because it's real popular and they don't like it, and they just ultimately end up with a candle they're not really happy with. So definitely get stuff that you like.
Yeah, I totally agree, because when you're out there, if you're selling your products, it's something that you want to be proud of, that you want to be passionate about. So that's an awesome tip, to just make sure that it's consistently products that you love and that you would want to use yourself.
Definitely. And probably the last one is just to kind of have fun with it. I mean, that's really what everyone's here for. Just have fun with it, get out there and continue to do stuff that you like. And if it starts to go down a route that you're really not happy with, just reroute and go back to what's fun about it.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching today and for tuning into our Makers Tips and Tricks. For additional information, be sure to subscribe to Standley Handcrafted and the Wooden Wick Co. on YouTube. Happy making.